Today we're going to talk about how to add and subtract signed numbers. That's positive numbers and negative numbers. Well, if you have two positive numbers, pretty easy, 2 plus 5. And so we know the answer is 7. But one thing to point out is if you have a number and there's nothing in front of it, there really is a positive right in front of it. Okay, so if there's no sign, it's really implied there's a positive. So if you gain 2 of something and then you gain 5 more, you have 7 of those things positive. Another way to think about it is if you have 2 positives and then you have 5 more positives, if you add them all up, you have 7 positive numbers or 7 positives. Okay, so that answer is 7. Now for another example, how about if I had 2 minus 5? Now, one thing that's kind of weird that you can do is you can rewrite 2 minus 5 as 2 plus a negative 5. So that is a definition of subtraction. You can rewrite it as addition of the opposite. And so what this says, remember there's a little plus hiding in front of the 2, is that you have 2 positives and now you have 5 negatives. And so if we cancel out, we know a positive and a negative make 0. A positive and a negative make 0. What is left over? We have 3 negatives. And so 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Another way to think about it is if you gain $2, but then you lost 5, you're basically 3 in the hole, or minus 3. So 2 minus 5, 2 plus a negative 5, that gives us a minus 3 or negative 3. For our next example, how about we have negative 2 plus 5? So if I had a negative like in the second problem, I change it to a positive. But in this case, I don't need to because I have a positive already in the middle. So what this is telling me is I have 2 negatives and then I have 5 positives. And so if I cancel out pairs, I get zeros for my positive and negatives. And that leaves me then with 3 positives. So I can say that it is positive 3 or just 3. And so negative 2 plus 5 gives me a positive 3. Now for our next example, how about we have negative 2 minus 5? And so in that instance, whenever I see that negative between my two numbers, just like we did right here, we changed it to plus a negative. So anytime I see that, you don't have to do it, but it makes it a lot easier to see it as negative 2 plus a negative 5. And so that means I have 2 negatives, and then I have 5 more negatives. And so how many total negatives do I have? I have negative 7. And so negative 2, and then we have a negative 5 also. That gives us our negative 7. So it's really easy if you think about drawing these positive and negative circles. There's lots of other methods, but people visually find that the easiest to kind of understand. Now for our last example, how about if I have 4 minus 8 and then plus a negative 5 plus 10? Now recall that when we have that negative between the two numbers, we're going to change that into a positive. And then we're going to attach that negative to the 8. Now recall from order of operations that we want to go with addition and subtraction from left to right. And so we're going to have this 4 and then the negative 8. So I have 4 positives. And then I have 8 negatives. And so I kind of went over to the left because I ran out of room. But we see that our pairs cancel and we are left with 4 negatives. And then I'm going to write the rest of the problem like so. Now I'm going to continue from left to right. I have 4 negatives. And then I also have 5 negatives. And so we can see that I have 9 negatives. 9 negatives now. It's a lot of negatives here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I have 10 positives. You see, though, if we're getting into larger numbers, you're going to be here all day. So another way to think of it is the larger sign dominates, right? Those positive 10s or the positives, the 10 pluses is more than the 9 negatives. So the positive sign you see is the one that will dominate, and that gives us a positive 1 or simply just 1. And so we have to take it from left to right, and we can use the circles to remember which is going to be positive, which is negative, and which will cancel.